You're welcome back. Get interactive with us and tell us whether, in view of the revelation that is coming up, the money you've deposited with the bank is safe. Now, the news this afternoon is that a total of 365 bank employees have been implicated in various acts of financial misconduct, according to the Bank of Ghana's 2024 annual fraud report, raising fresh concerns about the integrity of the country's banking sector and the robustness of internal controls within financial institutions. Whilst the overall number of implicated staff marks a serious issue, the report highlights a more alarming trend: a dramatic surge in the value at risk from forgery and documents manipulation. In 2024 alone, losses attributed to these activities skyrocketed to 53.5 million Ghana cedis, nearly 8 times higher than the figure reported in 2023. Now, let me give you excerpts of that report before we bring in my guests to analyze the matter we have on hand this afternoon. So in 2023, in terms of the total number of fraud cases captured and reported by the Bank of Ghana, it stood at 15,865. Now, it will move 5% higher to 16,733 in 2024. That is the year under review. And this is according to the Bank of Ghana latest fraud report. Also, in 2023, the amount of money, total amount of money involved in the fraud stood at 88 million Ghana cedis. In 2024, that number will move to 99 million Ghana cedis, representing 13% jump. And banks and specialized deposits taking institutions, 2023 we had 274. In 2025, the number is 2024. The number ended at 365. And so in 2024, in terms of fraud, the numbers that were involved, 365 people were identified. And those who have been dismissed because of their complicity in a matter on hand, 155, and that's 43%. So what now happens to the 57% more that were captured in this report? We'll have details coming your way pretty soon. And so these are the top 5 types of fraud identified by the Bank of Ghana: forgery and alteration of documents, identity theft or impersonation, somebody using your identity to withdraw your money from the bank without your knowledge before you realize the money is gone. There's also those who are ATM and POS, e-money fraud, and this we are talking about Momo and the rest. And of course, remittance is somebody sending money from abroad, you are unable to take it before you realize somebody else already taking the money. And so the BOG has directive to banks and SDRs. We'll come back to this particular matter, but this is what is captured in the report that the BOG presented to the public today. And these are the recommendations. We're going to find out more from my guests when they join me in here on the pulse. Right, so let's understand what really is going on. And joining me on Zoom is Dr. Kwesi Osei-Yeboah. He's with the Financial Stability Department of the Bank of Ghana. Also on Zoom is a banking consultant, Dr. Richmond Ichuahene. So, gentlemen, it's a Friday, so let's take it easy with each other. Good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Nelson, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners.
Great. So, let me start with you, Dr. Osei. I mean, we were hoping that we reported this matter about 7 months ago in the 2023 report that was submitted. The hope was that in 2024, we were going to see a reduction. Rather, we are seeing an upsurge. What really is going on here, Dr. Osei?
Thank you very much, Elton. And yeah, you are right. Our hope, our expectation was that there will be significant improvement in the numbers in terms of reduction in fraud within the banking sector. I must say that whilst in aggregate terms, we are seeing some increase in the overall value at risk and also the aggregate count of fraud. When you drill down a bit deeper, you realize that we've seen some improvement, actually. Even when you look at value at risk for banks, there was just an isolated outlier situation where just one fraud incident was valued at about 53 million. So it really moved the number up significantly. But when you look at the others, you see value at risk for even SDI, for instance, the number came down significantly, 48% reduction. So yes, we wanted to see more, but the figures, as we see, is showing some marginal improvement from last year.
All right. Let me allow Dr. Chuahene on his initial comments on this matter. Dr. Chuahene, will you describe this as unprecedented?
Well, I wouldn't say unprecedented. Once the industry keep on growing, basically you're going to experience these things. But looking at what we've been through since 2019, the COVID, the banking sector crisis, the economic challenges in 2022, the DDEP, one would have expected that there would have been improvement in these fraud issues. But from where I sit, it's a reputational issue, and it's not good for the industry. No matter whatever came across, whether it's even less than one city, what I'm saying that we should rather strive to improve the quality and reduce these fraud so that customers will not be put in fears. But apart from that, I think the bank should sit up. I mean, the Bank of Ghana is doing his bit. I believe that the players in the sector should sit up, because I don't think they are doing the best they are putting their best. And that is my initial comments for that.
All right. Again, so let me come back to you again, Dr. Say. According to the report, 365 employees were implicated in various acts of financial misconduct, and that is up from 274 recorded in 2023. So the question a lot of people are asking, if I want to put this on our social media platform, what people are asking is that, is it safe for them to say that we've got some people wearing suit and tie but are actually criminals working in the bank?
To answer your question, is it safe? I would say it is safe, but we want to make it safer. Reason why I say that is, even if there is one bad note in the system, we are not happy. We really want the numbers to come down dramatically, if possible, even eliminate it altogether. But yes, it's true, the number has gone up. Staff involvement in fraud incidents. And it's something that we are addressing with the industry seriously. We are engaging the banks bilaterally when we look at your numbers and we see that we are having this particular vulnerability in your system. We address it with you directly. And we also meet the bankers and industry collectively, and we tease out some of these issues, we highlight it with them. But more importantly, we, through our supervisory department, working with the banks to ensure that they strengthen internal controls, because really when you see staff involvement, one of the key areas you look at is internal control.
Right.
Do they have the right controls in terms of even their operational framework? Are they 2-3 lines of verification in transactions? Some of the things you'll be surprised to know, as trivial as it may be, staff become so comfortable with their colleagues that they share their credentials with them.
Okay.
And the ensuing result will be the person will use it to commit fraud. So if they are really improving on, the security awareness culture within the bank, organizing forums, organizing, discussions around some of these issues, we expect that the numbers will begin to come down quite significantly.
But the bank is unhappy with what it described as a persistency in terms of the internal lapses and oversight challenges that may be fueling these reported cases. But in terms of punishing those who have been caught in the web, less than half of the number reported were dismissed. So we've still got more than half of those identified to have misconducted themselves still working in the banks.
Yeah, that is true. When it comes to fraud, certainly it's a law enforcement issue. And the directive to banks is that they should report it and pursue the case. Unfortunately, there are some times that when the banks start pursuing this case and they are not getting the right cooperation from law enforcement, the next best thing is for them to cut their losses and focus on their core business. But it's one of the areas we are really encouraging banks to see through the cases and ensure that the wrongful ones are really punished. Not only that, there is a requirement for banks to report all cases to Bank of Ghana. And Bank of Ghana collate a database of all staff who have been implicated one way or the other. In fact, not just implicated. Any staff who is supposed to be hired by any bank, they're supposed to run it through Bank of Ghana.
Right.
Any person who exits the banking system is supposed to be reported to Bank of Ghana so that at all point in time, we can have a sense of, the genuine people that the banks can recruit into their operations, and those that, if there are some red flags on them, we can advise the bank on it.
I mean, if I'm watching and I have money in the bank, I'll be scared because the number the Bank of Ghana is reporting to me this afternoon is almost 400 individuals, caught in the web, and yet they are only able to dismiss 155. That's less than 50% of it. So I'm scared because I'm thinking that more than half of people who have been identified to be unfit to do their job are still doing it. Is it due to lack of enforcement of internal controls, or the managers are simply not being diligent enough in checking their staff?
Thank you very much. I think it's a multifaceted issue. It's not, you can't put your hand on one. From my experience as a bank person who have worked through all the levels, it is not one single issue you can lay your hands on. At times, Dr. Yabua will tell you, in the past we have 5 key principles: the operational fraud, people, system, approach, and then processes and procedures and external events. Unfortunately, we are not tackling it from the people element, people side. Once upon a time, time ago, you need to keep due diligence on staff. You need to keep track on your staff. Your staff will be buying so many things. It has happened to me personally.
Right.
In First Atlantic, I will disclose it, First Atlantic. I used to have a cashier who was able to buy a house and buy air conditions. When at that time I was a senior manager, I had no air condition. The reason being is that here was a lady who was doing what we call cash suppressing, and it was suppressing even dollars. But nobody kept an eye on anybody.
For the benefit of those who may not be familiar with the banking words, suppressing, what exactly do you mean by that?
What it means that if I pay in 10 million, I've officially paid 10 million. What the lady does was that you change in my paying slip and then put his own figures in instead of 5 million. But if you don't have a system those days where it was alerting you rightly, even now that they have the system, in the report, cash suppression is still going on, especially in the SDIs.
In fact, it is stated here.
Yeah, not in the mainstreams, because the mainstreams have it such a way that when you credit your account immediately, but when you go to the SDIs, they may not have this system. And I'm only telling you that until we begin to check and do due diligence on the staff, because you said most of the fraud was committed by staff.
Right.
And who is keeping the watch on the watchman? We go to office and we sit by our table and everybody is working. But people's actions and inactions outside the business, nobody keeps an eye on it. And that is where I say there is a problem with our people. The banks are getting away. The banks are not doing what is expected to find out the quality of human beings. Even after working with the bank for 2 years, when I used to be in a bank, I never trusted anybody, even if you're there with 5 years. I I keep watch over you and see your actions, your things that you do. Unfortunately today, because of IT and these things, nobody is keeping an eye. A manager goes to the office, he sit down and do his work and he clear the ledgers and sign the checks and do the balancing and he goes up. Nobody is keeping an eye on the people. I was giving a lecture recently at African Regent. One thing I have said is that we are losing dedicated and honest and trusted human beings in Ghana at the moment. The values, the core values, which we were taught, now you can't find the core values. Today, people are using iPhone 20 or whatever, and nobody is looking at these people. And these people are the very people we are employing. So the banks, Bank of Ghana should ensure that they keep eye. The management, the board should always let people keep eye on individuals in the institution. If you are a manager of a branch, one of your requirements, you assess the person. Do you know what the person does even when we leave the office? They drive, they have cars, they bought cars selling. Nobody is tracking them. And because of these fraudsters are coming into the industry, it's making it more difficult. Even because the control system you said, some of them knows the controls even better than their managers, especially when you go to the IT. Let me warn them, the IT. Some of them are so clever that they know more than IT. Can they use their phone even in their house to get into the system and get the money siphoned out? But who supervises them? The person who supervises them may not have the deeper knowledge or understanding of the job that entrusted to them. So the banks, I won't falter Bank of Ghana. I say that the Bank of Ghana should take a big stick. If a bank is not doing what is required, they should sanction them very well, especially concerning staff. Because all these fraud you're talking about, it didn't come from anywhere. It came from staff.
Right.
And if it was not staff alone, it was a coalition. So I believe that the board, especially our state-in banks and our private banks in Ghana, should take this as a warning. As Bank of Ghana is telling them, they should do it and do it well, so that people who have been caught in the net do not even find themselves in the work. Do you know that? There was a time somebody did something in my office. I wrote a report to BOG in those days. Could you believe that the next time I've written my report to Bank of Ghana, and I was not expecting this person to be in the industry. The next time I phoned him, he was a manager at one of the branches. Then I asked myself,
even though he had issues,
how did these things come about? After sending the report, this guy got a job in the industry and he has committed something in one of our branches. So I say that I'm beginning to understand that either the regulator should be more up and doing on those who have been sent out. You talk about punishment. Look, I think in the whole world, the slowest judiciary system that doesn't help the financial sector is the judiciary. I will repeat it anyway, because when a case goes there, it's going to take 3 years. And some of the banks have a good reputation. They don't want what has happened, so they keep it cool. Because if you go to court, they are not going to resolve it. Even though
the Chief Justice has dedicated a call to deal with financial issues.
Yes, even is there, but because the people who go there, number one, I'm sorry to say this, there is a difference between a lawyer and a banking law. There's a difference, and I will challenge anybody. In banking, we have laws. We have laws, and we have practices.
Right.
And we have international practices. I went to a court. Let me give you a story.
Right.
There was a letters of credit issue with one of the banks and a customer. I was subpoenaed when I was banking college to come and explain what a defer LC, what a site LC, what was a acceptance LC to the court, because the lawyers were just debating. And when I went there and I told the lady, the court, the judge, I made a presentation and explained to him, was yes, this is the people we are looking for,
right,
to come and tell us what is it. There's one thing in banking, it's so unique, but unfortunately in Ghana, we don't see it as a uniqueness in it. And so people who specialize in the general law, and they may not even understand what it means as the banking law is concerned. So we have a challenge.
So Dr. Tiahine, before I bring in again Dr. Akwesi, I'll say, well, one of your suggestions this afternoon is that the bank should continually undertake lifestyle audits of its staff.
I tell you, my brother, I have been it, and I teach it now. I teach it when I left, and I could see that people who sit in a bank and will be buying Uber for people to drive. But when you look at their salary, you can't work out how they are siphoning monies from the system. I mean, as recent as this year, if you remember, a boy at one of the leading banks was having due 101.2 billion.
Yes.
He was about to travel to Dubai, and at the airport, he was nicked and he has been sentenced to 10 years. If this guy has sneaked away what would have been it, the bank would have lost it. Even
though this same person on social media had displayed lavish lifestyle, even though he was working and just earn a monthly salary.
Exactly.
And nobody took notice of it.
And nobody takes a look at you. But when we came in the bank in the 80s, my manager would always want to find out, Mr. Tuahere, what do you do? Okay. Because if I need rent, I have to go and get a loan to pay. But people will start buying, they haven't collected mortgages. Why are they getting the money for? And nobody is looking at them.
I'll come back to, let me bring in again Dr. Akwesi. So, Doctor, you've heard one recommendation that is coming from Dr. Tuahine, that there should be continuous lifestyle audit of bank staff. Now, in your own report, you've mentioned the fact that the bank should tighten recruitment screening processes and ensure diligent prosecution of offenders. Is it the understanding of the Bank of Ghana that these measures are not being adhered to? That is why you are hammering on it.
Thank you very much. I want to agree with Dr. Tuahine on the need to enhance vigilance. You know, if we are just paying attention alone to our colleagues in itself would really make an impact. And I agree with him when he made reference to how the culture was back in the days. And it's something that I think is really helpful. Now, to your question,
right?
You see, we have a database. The database is as good as the report we've received. If something happens and it's not reported and it's not captured, we wouldn't be in the position to provide a accurate report. And it's something that is ongoing, and we are encouraging the banks to continue to report. In fact, if you fail to report, we have sanctioning regime that we sanction the bank concerned. Anytime we see an infraction from the bank side, we take the appropriate measures. But again, the database is as good as the data that has been reported or has been collated. So it's something that work in progress. We keep improving on it. We are engaging the banks, and we are trying to get them to report all cases so that we keep it accurate. But
if you can educate us and give us classical examples. Example, when you say that in terms of estimation, 83 million Ghana cedis is at risk of not being recovered. How were they able to siphon 83 million Ghana cedis? Did they just go into customers' accounts and start picking maybe 2 Ghana cedis from like 500 accounts, put them together somewhere? How were they able to amass 83 million Ghana cedis?
Thank you for your question. I don't really want to engage in speculation, but you know, this fraud covers an entire year virtually across, you know, a lot of institutions. And it could be in terms of the number of cases, and it could also be in the value of cases involved in a particular fraud. That's why I said that last year, for instance, 2024, there was an outlier situation of a fraud involving about 53 million. So if you look at the 75 million as is stated in the report, 53 is just coming from just one fraud incident.
Right.
So automatically it will increase the number, all right. But in terms of the count, we are not seeing so much as you would want. So it cuts across. And really, one of the things we've also seen in the past, and this time we're doing things a bit differently, is that anytime we do the report and we identify the vulnerable places and we begin to, highlight these places and take it with the banks and ask them to address it, we realize that fraudsters move to other areas that are not receiving too much attention.
Right.
So this time around, our approach is going to be more holistic. Every area, whether it's cited as a more vulnerable place or not, we are asking banks to tighten the screw across board so that we can see the numbers coming down across board.
And the recovery in this instance is just 3 million Ghana cedis. Have you given up, or you are still going after the rest of the money?
No, in fact, the banks are supposed to recover. They need to recover. It's their money, because if they are not able to recover, the bank will have to pay with their own money. So it's on the banks to ensure that they are able to recover and recover everything. Unfortunately, though, sometimes before they could even get to the corporate has absconded, has run away. Where are you going to get the money from? And it's an area of concern. It's an area that we are working hard, in fact, not only with the bank in this case, but also with law enforcement broadly, so that we can bring all of them to the table and ensure that when some of these cases, you remember Dr. Echiahen was saying that the Chief Justice has set up a financial court.
Right.
And some of these institutions ought to work in an expedited way, so that, some of these cases could be dealt with quickly. Banks traditionally, they don't want to be in court all the time. They have a core business. So if a case is dragging, the tendency would be but we don't want that kind of situation, so that when the case come up, they can deal with it, quickly, and the banks can revert to do what they are very comfortable doing.
Dr. Chiahen, the recovery rate is low. I don't know what your suggestion would be in terms of the banks recovering the money that have gone into wrong hands.
The recovery rate is low because of your prosecution rate. If your prosecution rate is low, definitely your recovery rate will be very low. That's why I like Doctor is saying that the prosecutorial issue should be handled holistically. The way it's going, people knows that it takes a long and unreasonable time. And as he said, some banks do not even report, because immediately it gets to prosecution, it is going to take maybe 2-3 years. What is it? So there is a correlation between the low recovery is related to the slowness of our judiciary system.
Right.
We must have effective and swift action as far as these things are concerned, especially with the banking sector, so that people will know that I'm not going to get away with it. But it also depends on the culture of the institutions. Dr. Yeboah will tell you, some of the banks, I won't mention their names. For them, if you say a money paid into the account, even the private account, and it is above your normal salary account or your business account, they would immediately flag it.
Right.
And raise suspicious transaction. And because they have other reporters outside, because their main reporters outside, but they will never get your money if you go to FIC. But in some of the institutions we have, especially the localized one, either the people there, let me make this statement. If something gets rot, it doesn't rot from the head, it rot from the leg. So I think that the governance system, we talk about governance. The board governance must be up and doing. Let me give you an example. You're going to buy a software, and then you send people to go and buy, or they come to Ghana and sell to you. And the board, none of them do understand these software issues and how it is even, the controls are. I am talking from experience, because I was a part of a team that brought FlexKey in Ghana. And when we went there in India, they told us that who is the IT man? Who is the internal control? Who is this? Are you internal control by manual or electronic? And I was caught one down, because all that I knew was that I was a manual person. And then we were going to buy a software. So they needed somebody who has an internal control background vis-a-vis IT.
Right.
So that when we are processing, their control or the limit system will be in. But if your board do not basically understand, how are you going to tell them? And so the control weaknesses can start from the head and gets into the system. And I believe the bank should strengthen not the control system, the board governance system. At least in your board, you need one with IT specialist.
Right.
So that when you're going to sign on these online businesses, online and this e-money and whatever you call it, or digital banking, you see, the CEOs and the board members will say that, oh, we've bought this. But it's not a question of boarding. What control mechanisms have you put into the system? You never that no one claims what you don't have. Because you don't know, you're not going to ask. That's why I'm talking about the board system, so that it can come down to management, come down to individuals. So that why is key kept by dual people? Keys, why is the dual control? Why is the insurance? Why is the security have to be safe around the cash? All these things. And why should the security even be safe with the staff who are dealing with the IT? All these things are very, very critical.
Okay.
Now that we are moving,
yes.
Let me finish. Now that we are moving into digitalization,
right?
I think we are running more than we can. We are running faster than we have.
Okay.
We need to strengthen the systems that control the digitization and online challenge businesses. Other than that, one day we get up in the morning and all the deposit of a bank might have been swept by somebody. That is why I am trying to say that it's not just a talking or writing a report. The board members, the management of the banks must sit up, because it's an indictment on that institution. Bank of Ghana is really reporting, and that's what you can do. Prosecution, you say Bank of Ghana can go and prosecute because Bank of Ghana hasn't lost money. It is left to you, the bank. So it is your duty. Yes.
In conclusion, I just want to look at solutions. I mean, somebody is suggesting that perhaps Bank of Ghana can come up with a league table of banks that, I mean, rank in terms of the first to the last, in terms of banks that are caught in this web of fraud. Is this something that you support? Because confidence and trust is at stake here.
If you ask me my candid opinion,
yes,
I'm going to say that I'm recommending a multifaceted approach, including investing in advanced fraud technologies. Number one. Today we're talking about AI. I mean, those of us who write a lot. All that we go, the AI will tell you everything. So when I'm talking as if I am the AI.
Right.
These technologies should be maybe adapted to our system flow so that we can see the control system that would eliminate and reduce the fraud, because we are moving into digitalization. You can't use the same thing that I used to do it today. So technology is important, and they must understand which technology that will have an inbuilt control system that cannot easily be penetrated by the fraudsters.
Okay, but you don't support the idea that we should have a timetable that will specify which bank is leading in terms of the fraud reporting.
Look, doctor can't tell you the story. He who that is down needs no fear to fall. Look, if you're going to have the lead, do you know I'm going to tell you the banks that are going to suffer. It is the indigenous banks. All these fraud that we are talking, most of them won't come from the so-called banks. So I don't believe in the league. The league will come and compound the already existing challenges for our indigenous banks.
Okay.
So I will be very cautious about the league of good performance. And banking, it's not a football where you want to say this is Manchester City or this is Manchester. No. Let us be more scientific and not to destroy the industry. Immediately you put the league and put banks' name there. Do you know what we do? It is in Ghana alone where there is what we call information asymmetry. If it's been even in Nigeria, there could be a rundown on the institutions. Yes, I'm telling you. Because people read into it and understand, and they will have to Right? So I don't believe we should rather enhance confidence rather than to dissipate confidence.
All right. Dr. Chang, thank you so much. Let me wrap it up with Dr. Osei-Yeboah with the Bank. So, Dr. Osei-Yeboah, I'm getting so many text messages. People are asking, in terms of this fraud reported issues, what the Bank of Ghana is doing to ensure that mobile telecommunication companies tighten their grip, especially Momo fraud, which is also one of the issues that is reported here. Tighten their back end such that fraudsters will not have access to people's money on the mobile phone.
Right, that is true, and we've expanded our network of engagement to even include NCA. We work with them when some of the issues dovetail into their sphere of influence, and at the technical level, we do a lot of engagement, and we are able to reach out to them and ask them to also, like you said, tighten their end of the chain. The whole thing is holistic.
Right.
And as Dr. Etuahene just said, it's not just publishing, or ranking bands that will solve the issue. It's about educating the general public. It's about all of us getting involved and ensuring that some of the typologies that are emerging, we highlight it and people are aware. It's also about the industry, improving on some of the authentication processes so that it do away with certain simple mistakes. I'll give you an example.
Right.
There was an engagement and one of the password requirements was just for 6 character numbers or whatever.
Right.
And people were using their date of birth. So when you begin to see this, then the bank ought to improve on it and require that the passwords should have alphanumeric characters. Then automatically, people cannot use their date of birth. And that risk is mitigated. So it really calls for all of us to be involved. It calls for broader engagement across the industry. And it's something that Bank of Ghana is putting a lot of effort in.
And then for those who are watching and may be having confidence issue now, what will be your message and advice to them?
Like I said earlier on, the banking system is safe. We just want it to be safer. So, and if they have any problem or any issue, we have reporting lines that the general public, customers can reach out to Bank of Ghana and we will take it up and address it with their institutions and ensure that the rightful thing is done. Right. So the general public could be rest assured that Bank of Ghana is quite vigilant, Bank of Ghana is quite active, and is working with industry players to ensure that fraud in the system continues to come down.
And I'm hoping that next year, hopefully by this time, when we speak on another report, that the fraud levels would have come down drastically.
That is what we are all hoping for.
Right. Dr. Osei-Yeboah is with the Bank of Ghana Financial Department. We'll end it here for now. We also heard Dr. Richmond Etuahene. He's a banking consultant. The news this afternoon is a report that came through from the Bank of Ghana, and they reported a 33% increase in staff involvement in fraudulent activities across the banking and specialized deposit-taking sector for the year 2024. And according to that report, 365 employees were implicated in various acts of financial misconduct, up from 274 recorded in 2023. The report covers banks and specialized deposit-taking institutions, attributed much of this rise to persistent internal lapses and oversight challenges. The infraction or the fraud stood at 83 million Ghana cedis, but they've been able to only recover 3 million, leaving 75 million Ghana cedis at stake. Now, they conclude by saying that the infractions ballooned in 2024 to 53.5 million Ghana cedis, almost 8 times bigger than what they reported in 2023, which stood at 6.9 million. So the situation obviously is not improving, and the Bank of Ghana has put in place measures to force managers of banks to ensure that they have internal controls, they tighten recruitment screening processes, and ensure the diligent prosecution of offenders. That is the story this afternoon. This is a pause here on Joy News with me, Elton Bobo. Your comments are welcome via social media handles on X Spaces, on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on myjoyonline.com. Let me take you to the court now, because an Accra High Court has dismissed a motion filed by the Ghana Police Service seeking to block a planned protest against illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. Now, the withdrawal of the motion followed a request by Assistant State Attorney David Bachem, acting on the instruction of the Attorney General. This ruling clears the path for the much-anticipated anti-Galamsey demonstration scheduled for April 28, that this coming Monday. Now, here's one of the conveners of the up-and-coming demonstration, Okatachi Afrifa.
Yes, you know, actually, seeing you are Kambumwa. Sabi Obi a dem Russian and Sabia so ye post you, so ye president, so ye minister, so ye day, ye man for no pay, and obey. It's all kind of constitution, the preamble. But see, we, the people of Ghana, in the exercise of our natural and inalienable right, we give to ourselves and posterity. Etinye yankwa, ye ni nchirima kurano, ye di amemo to me, she omonsa. It's to me, ye dia, and your modia. And on an air general analysis, police koji injunction, or koji call summons, or did you say no margin so many be idea? Yeah, a lawyer for no, or me a lawyer for winning day. Now I said almost here two or muko to near Diabaya, and near camera on Makabi, and near so Makabipa. Nagana for when he assembled a chess said yen and animal yen nano, you could not bonny the 10 million for Woody, Omodia Kudru, Nyansan, dear, a poye, a jiff and Woody Maye. Kwame Kumambeka ho akwaje akokosamo sana se miminu mi enodru me ne osodia esu ye bi eto aso na no ani asase no ene police na me kwan se yenko ye demonstration in fact omuni tumi gross on gas omusi kwan court pe na wo say tumi ya ba yenso asem ne court no afa sekan watetim watwam wato atwene ba bi o say asem no has been struck out in the police for you wo kasa na ye ka chiro bi ase ajuada 2 p.m. and NPP some and NDC some but here NPP ni mapa, but the record shows that time on my buying a was so when you know mudi dance here me ne kwame apia ku bi ya ogina me che menua ye fa juo ato ye kon ekota no numere tano anua ekoko chesi ye che China for the buy. It tells you how patriotic we are when it comes to the fight against Galamsey. It's here na kufa do penso na ye dia ye no Mama penso and bibia sign and ye radio Mama near time war and ye this in your time war. The moment we are fighting for a greater cause for the next generation. It's a Jordan 2 p.m. sharp. Be funny in boot lazy. Now member lazy t-shirt and should be available and for the barber GBA. Na munyina mum ye nanti we no nye ayi nyumto jambori we nye kaka bia abrebuo mu solemn moment. Ye the candles beba wo ban fa candle kura ne bra ne nyina yenko ye wura John Dramani Mamba before that ye begina police headquarters ne abusa IGP said ono na ye the chief enforcement agent of the nation the TDNT na police ye dia kadi ama mo se mo ko fight Galamsey na still amutimi fight ono ma ya answer bia na fe ya to so ko eye opemu no akasa o ye wura John Dramani Mamba e o Flagstaff House animo a Commander-in-Chief of the Republic on the soldier force.
Right, so this was after the decision of the court and then the reaction that came through from those who are organizers this demonstration on Monday. Now, on the X page of the Deputy Attorney General, Justice Stremside, he says after 2 meetings with the Security and Intelligence Services yesterday, the Attorney General directed that the application for injunction to restrain the anti-Galamsey demonstration be withdrawn. The injunction application was duly withdrawn this morning. The demonstration will be allowed to go on exactly as the demonstrators have proposed. The right to demonstrate is protected by the Constitution. President Mahama understands true meaning of that right. Attorney General Dominic Ayine will not violate or allow anyone to violate the citizen's right to demonstrate. And this is from Justice Stremside, Deputy Attorney General. So my colleague Latif Idris was in court today. Is this the reason why the demonstrators are having their way?
Certainly. So, for the ruling. So,
this was not made known
in court. What was said in court by Bechem was that they want the motion withdrawn
based on that, the trial judge ruled that the motion has been struck out. So it wasn't the case that there was arguments on the side of Ketechia's lawyers and on the side of the Attorney General or the state attorneys.
The matter was not litigated at all?
At all. So when the case was called, Bechem rose and said they want their motion withdrawn, and that was how come the case was withdrawn, and then it was struck out by the trial judge.
So meaning what? On Monday they can demonstrate in full?
They can demonstrate. So reason why the police actually went to court is that if you look at the parameters within which the protesters or the planned protest is going to take place, according to the police, they've told them that they want to start from the Obrasport, go through the Ring Road, and then converge at the Liberation Square. And we all know where the Liberation Square is.
Right opposite the Jubilee
House. Both Liberation Square and Jubilee House, according to the police, they are security zones. You cannot go there and protest. They had several meetings, and rightly pointed out by Stremside that after 2 meetings, it means that there was back and forth with the planned protesters or the conveners of the planned protest and the security agencies. They still insist that they want to go through that route from Obrasport, Ring Road, and converge at the Liberation Square. It appears now they have their way. They will eventually converge at the Liberation Square and then do whatever they've planned to do with regards to this protest. The time, though, is what is curious. From 2 p.m. to 12 a.m.
So 2 p.m. of Monday.
Of Monday to 12 a.m. of Tuesday.
That's at the start of Tuesday.
At the start of Tuesday. And, well, I don't know. And they are expecting 10,000 people to participate in this protest. So the issue the police had, another issue they had to do with the time. They say the time, 2 p.m., is a peak time, rush hour. And if you are starting your protest at that particular time, you are going to cause huge gridlock within the national capital. It will going to hamper the delivery of critical services, and people are going to be inconvenient. One of the reasons they raised, but then the protesters or the conveners stood their ground, and it appears that they have their way, and this protest is going to come off.
All right, so that'll be on Monday.
On Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Latif, thank you so much for coming through. So that's the latest that came through from the court today. This is a pause here on Joy News. Let's take a short break and return with more. You're welcome back to the show. This is the pause on a Friday afternoon. Now, before the break, we were talking about the court giving the all clear for the demonstration against illegal mining to take place. Now, let me go to Zoom and speak to one of the conveners, Apia Kube. He's journalist with Kesben Network and co-convener for the Anti-Galamsey protest. Ms. Apia Kube, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Elton, and thank you for having me.
No, I nearly said and the Apia Kube. Forgive me. So, you're ready and set for Monday?
Yes, let me say a very good afternoon to your viewers. We are very much set for Monday, God willing, the 8th of April 2025. And then we entreat all Ghanaians, especially the youth, to as well join us, the civil society organizations, the religious bodies, and anybody who has conscience for the protection of our environment. It is our view that, this is the time to speak up. Yes, in time past, as journalists, as media men, we've done a lot of reportage. We've done a lot of advocacies on our media platforms. But, the hope we had that upon a change of government, at least, we were going to see a certain level of, a little bit of conscience being applied in terms of the way we are degrading the environment and how we are causing a lot of destruction to our very own survival as human beings. Then we ought to have seen some level of change. But yet, the things are happening and we are far from seeing any positive change. And so we are much more prepared for Monday, God willing.
Right. So, and this is to put pressure on government to do more to end the menace of Galamsey. Under this administration, they will say that they are on it. They are stepping up the fight. We've got forestry commission officials in the Western region destroying an entire settlement of 10,000 and over by illegal miners. We've seen the police also do same in some parts of the country. We've seen the revocation of mining license of some individuals, including Akonta Mining. And we've seen the government position to even deport foreigners engaged in illegal mining. You don't think that government is doing enough in spite of all of this?
Yes, so Elton, first of all, let's put the whole conversation about Galamsey into perspective. Okay, so as a country, we are governed by laws, and then as dictate of rule of law. I mean, we know for a fact that once we have accepted to comply with laws in the country, as much as we are not in a banana republic, then obviously it is expected that the laws must work and take its rightful perspective shape. And so, I mean, the state has been entrusted with the mandate of issuing licenses for individuals, whether, I mean, individual persons or companies who are interested in going into the mining sector and then doing some level of work in that particular area. So it is required upon, I mean, the government to issue those licenses. Again, we must also put it on record that as much as the government is required to issue those licenses as by law provides, it also holds on with some level of responsibility for ensure that as much as we are going to mine, then definitely we are ensuring that, I mean, the environment is safe from degradation. And so if, first of all, you have a mandate to see to it that people who are given the licenses do not mine according to their own wishes, then obviously government has failed in the aspect of monitoring and ensuring that the people who are given those licenses, I mean, go in there and then do what is rightful of them. Again, we are saying that this whole issue about Galamsey is becoming a crime scene. I'm saying so because we have seen that in years past, yes, we've raised a lot of advocacies. I mean, the media coalition against Galamsey and all of that talk about the issues. Myself and Okatechie, somewhere last year and even beyond last year, we've done several stories. The peak,
including even going to the forest to arrest some of the Galamseyers.
That was the peak of it. That was where I was going to. So that is the peak. I mean, as patriotic citizens as we are, we did what we did without getting any payment from anybody. But we felt that by conscience, I mean, we have a responsibility as journalists to ensure that if we see that something is wrong with our community, something is wrong with our society, and then we are to draw the duty bearers' attention to whatever that is happening, then it is obvious that at least once we see people causing the destructions, I mean, in which they were doing it, then we equally have a responsibility as required by the law to make the arrest. And so we went to the extent of doing all of that. Now, it wasn't because President Akufo-Addo was in office, or it wasn't because the NPP was in office. That is why we went ahead to do that. No, we felt that by principle, it was right for us to do that, to be able to protect our very own survival and protect the next generation who will come after us. Now, the manner in which we are doing things as if there is no Ghana tomorrow. And any environment for the next generation to survive on. We are doing things as if, excuse me to say, we do not have conscience as a people. We know that the way and manner in which we are destroying our environment would definitely have an effect on us, even as we generation living today. And so we thought it wise that, look, yes, we've done all the advocacies. Government is doing its bit. But all that we are saying is that, Elton, you've been in this country. We've seen a number of excavators being arrested and being seized, under President Akufo-Addo. The required result Ghanaians wanted is not what we got. And so definitely, we cannot repeatedly be doing the same things and expecting different results.
I get you. Yeah. So, Mr. Piakubi, I think we have to leave it here for now. The date is Monday, April 28th, time 2 p.m. And they will do some walk around town and converge at the Liberation Park, right opposite the Jubilee House. But it's a Monday, the demonstration against illegal mining. Now, from one demonstration to the other, a coalition of political parties, they've declared a nationwide protest also for Monday, May 5, 2025, vowing to resist what they call a reckless assault on Ghana's democracy. This follows the alleged unlawful suspension of the Chief Justice and termination of several public service appointments. Now, in a strongly worded statement issued after an emergency meeting on April 24, that's yesterday, the parties warned that Ghana's constitutional order is under threat. The protest is backed by the New Patriotic Party, Liberal Party of Ghana, that's LPG, National Democratic Party, NDP, People's National Party, PMP, and the Ghana Union Movement, GUM. They are urging citizens, civil society, and religious bodies to join, as they describe as a non-partisan call to defend the judiciary. And so let me bring in Janet Nabila, and of course Dr. Amuako Hene. First, I'm start with Janet Nabila. Ma'am Jane, so this protest, I mean, there's a lot of conversation around this, and the government says that this is due process at work. They are only following what the constitution dictates. You don't find it acceptable, the reason why you want to hit the streets, right? And if you can unmute for me, Janet and Annabelle. We'll see if we can get Madam Annabelle's attention. But the national organizer of the NPP, Henry Nanabuache, also joins me. Nanabi, good afternoon, welcome.
Elton, good afternoon. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing well, and I've been seeing you the whole year. So let me say, whether it's a belated New Year or what. But you want to take your message to the streets, despite governments saying that they are only conveying the wishes of the Council of State.
This is not true. This whole action is premeditated. It is preconceived. President Mahama is only executing a campaign promise. You recall that some few years ago, he met a group of NDC lawyers. In his address to these NDC lawyers, he mentioned what he termed as the challenges he has with the judiciary, and that when he gets the nod as a president, he was going to clean up. He was going to make sure that there are changes at the top. So he is only executing his campaign promise. I mean, the petition, as we have seen some, for me, is hollow, is weak, is baseless, it lacks merit. Recall that Professor Kokwasari petitioned the president on the Afenyo marking matter, where he claimed that the justices of the Supreme Court, it was a panel of 5, delivering their ruling, mentioned that the actions and the pronouncement from the Speaker of Parliament was unconstitutional. Now, Professor Gogosari says that because the Speaker of Parliament did not enter appearance, it means that the justices of the Supreme Court did not allow the rules of natural justice to work. And for that matter, the Chief Justice is incompetent and cannot be the Chief Justice. I mean, this is clearly an absurdity.
Right.
In fact, the President then mentioned that he had consulted the Council of State and there is no merit in this matter. For that matter, a prima facie case cannot be established. This same fact, this same case, same issue with Afenyo marking matter, in a different petition by a group called Shining Star, finds itself with President Mahama, and he's entertaining it. I mean, in law, it is trite that we cannot, you, Elton, you cannot be tried for the same case, same matter, same fact, twice.
And you are certain that is the same matter in the petition?
It is the same thing. The same Afanyo Mata case, the same allegations being made that the Chief Justice, and don't forget that the Chief Justice sat only as the head of the panel. So if you are accusing her of a particular action, then it means you are accusing all 4 other justices of the Supreme Court. So it means you are calling for the removal of all of them. In fact, in one particular petition from ACP, he was manhandled.
We are losing you, Nana B. I don't know if you can reposition yourself so that I can hear you clear. Well, we appear we don't have him, I think because of connection issue. But let me bring in Janet Nabila with the PNP. So why is the PNP taking part in this demonstration? If you can unmute for me. What? We are also not getting our attention. We'll see if we can get both Nana B back and, of course, Madam Janet Nabila of the PNP to tell us why they are embarking on this demonstration on May 5. That is this in some few days to come. But this is
okay, so let me greet you and your viewers. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go on. Yes, I can hear you, please.
Okay, so I said let me greet you and your viewers this. Let me greet you and your viewers this evening. You are asking why we joined the demonstration. We want to join the protest.
Exactly.
When you watch events closely, you realize that when the Chief Justice was first petitioned, it was the PNP that rose up and was against it because we knew where it was going to. When you look at the number of women we have in the NDC government, they are so abysmal. The 30% promise that he promised the women of Ghana, he wasn't able to ascertain that. So for him not to be able to do that and also came in using all manner of means to remove women out of their positions, that is the reason why we went and joined this demonstration. Because we also realized that they are, the NDC have violated our constitution. When we talk about the petition, they said when the person petitioned, the president is supposed to give it to the Chief Justice, for the Chief Justice to give the response out. And then when he sees that there is something in it, then he can now send it to the Council of State. But that's not what the president did. Immediately they petitioned, he sent it straight to the Council of State, and then they came through media to inform everyone that this is what was happening. The Chief Justice protested. After the protest, then the president then gave the Chief Justice 10 days to respond. You know, if you go and if I steal a phone and then they catch me and I give the phone back to its owner, it doesn't mean that I'm exonerated just because I gave the phone back. I have still committed a crime. So President Mahama, no matter what, has still committed a crime. And that is the reason why some people send him to court. An injunction was sent to court. And no matter what, whether the poor man who is working in who is walking in the street or a beggar, and then the president, they are all equal before the same law. The president is not more important than the beggar on the street. So how come that? And we all know that when an injunction is on a matter, all decisions process. Because if you don't process the decision and you allow the person to go ahead with the decision, after the decision, when the ruling is given and it goes in favor of any of them, it can cause confusion.
Right.
That's the reason why what's on decisions are frozen. Our constitution and then the laws of this country. That is the reason why we are saying that the president is violating the constitution. First, he already had a pre-mandated mind that when I come, I'm going to remove him. So it doesn't matter what petition people bring. Because he has a pre-mandated mind, he was working towards that. He was working towards that. And we think that it is unfair because children who are in JHS and they look up to some of us also thinking that one day they will join politics when they see that
the internet, yes, the internet obviously.
Women in the media in other places.
Well, I think we'll fix this and then so that we can have a very thorough conversation. But I guess that the point is made on this particular matter. We'll try and see if we can fix the connection to Madam Nabila and of course Nadabi and bring them back on. We'll bring you the very latest on the suspension of emergency care by the Tamale teaching hospital doctors. We'll have the very latest on this matter for you pretty soon. We'll connect with our correspondent because we are hearing a development on this particular matter. We'll have that for you in a jiffy. But the Parliamentary Select Committee on Sanitation, Water Resources, they've called on government to expedite the payment of over 1.3 billion Ghana cedis owed to Zoomlion Ghana Limited. The committee, during a visit to the Kumasi Compost and Recycling Plant Limited in Asante region, warns that the delay in payment is not only undermining sanitation efforts, but also led to significant salary arrears owed to companies' employees across the country. The committee expressed concern over the growing debts, emphasizing its ripple effect on the services. There's more in this report.
The Kumasi Compost and Recycling Plant is a state-of-the-art waste management facility in the Ashanti region, which stands as one of the largest compost and recycling plants in Africa. During a visit to the region, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources inspected the plant as part of its broader efforts to ensure sanitation across the country. Speaking to the press, Committee Chairman John Oti Bless appealed to the government to support the maintenance of the plant. He pleaded that the over 1.3 billion debt owed Zoomlion, a subsidiary of the Jospon Group of companies, be paid by the Finance Minister.
We have trust and confidence in this government that the current budget, that statement that was presented about a month ago by our honorable member, who is also a colleague in Parliament, has in it about 13 billion Ghana cedis to clear arrears, of which Zoomlion is a part of. He has about 1.2 billion to be paid, Ghana cedis to be paid by government, and we believe that Atufosen has made that promise and given that assurance when the last time the committee invited him to appear before us on these issues of sanitation. He made a promise that they were going to clear all debt owed Zoomlion. So I am impressed. Before we took off from Accra, I spoke with the YEA chief executive because there are issues with non-payment on the YEA employees at the various district assemblies, and he has stated clearly that they are going to seriously do something about it and pay and ensure that the monies owed Zoomlion is quickly paid.
According to him, the committee has observed concerns raised about the amount paid workers of Zoomlion. He, however, disagrees with calls for the cancellation of the contract with Zoomlion.
The Zoomlion or Jospon is a Ghanaian. If there are issues, that's why we have leaders. We have to address them. So we are planning as a committee, since it has to do with the subject matter sanitation, we want to invite Manacha Zuri to appear before the committee anytime, maybe from next week onwards. Parliament will be resuming. We are currently on break. We are resuming on the 12th of next month or so. We invite him to come and share the information he has as far as this issue is concerned, so that we'll find a way out. But definitely, once it has to do with Ghanaians, many thousands of Ghanaians will lose their job if this contract is not renewed.
Eugene Ohene Asamoah is Business Development Manager at the KCARP. He says the plant is future ready to receive more waste as it continues to expand its capacity.
KCARP is the biggest compost and recycling plant in Africa. And by big, we are not saying in terms of the land size. We are saying in terms of the installed capacity. For instance, we have 2 stationary plants that have a combined capacity of 2,400 metric tons that can run 2 shifts a day. We also have mobile plants that can be triggered in to increase this capacity that we are talking of to either 3,600 or 4,800 metric tons per day. And then the waste that is generated within the space and the capacity we have, it means that we are future ready even to receive more waste.
For Joy News, Nana Boache Dankoyadom, Kumasi.
Meanwhile, the acting CEO of the Youth Employment Agency, Malik Basintali, has made a firm declaration not to renew the existing contract with Zoom Lion Ghana Limited if the current wage of 250 Ghana cedis for sanitation workers remain unchanged. In a strongly worded Facebook post on Friday, April 25, Basintali criticized the current terms of engagement, describing them as exploitative and unjust to the youth of the Ghanaian youth. His comments followed growing public pressure, particularly from investigative journalist Menace who has long campaigned against the contract renewal, citing poor treatment of workers and breach of the contract sum. So that's what Basintali wrote. Right, let me bring you a statement that just came in. The National Democratic Congress, as the NDC caucus in Parliament, shall not interfere in the Youth Employment Agency Zoom Lion sanitation contract. The National Democratic Congress Parliamentary Caucus in Parliament has not authorized the Sanitation Committee of Parliament to interfere with the work of the Youth Employment Agency in the YEA's decision regarding the sanitation model contract of Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. The chairman of the committee has reported to mean that, contrary to media reports, neither he nor any committee member has attempted to do any such thing. Any comments made by any member of the Sanitation Committee, which appears to defend Zoom Lion sanitation contract with YEA, should be ignored by the YEA or the public, as they do not represent the decision or opinion of the committee or Parliament. In the same vein, no Metropolitan Municipal or District Assembly should, in any form or manner, allow itself to be intimidated by any authority to enter into any sanitation contract with any particular company. In the last session of Parliament, the statement said the House implemented the directive of President John Mahama that 80% of the common funds should be delivered directly to the assemblies, and aside the assemblies are independent to decide their development priorities. And this is signed by Mahama Ayariga, the Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Majority Leader and Leader of Government Business in Parliament. Let's take a short break now and return with more. Well, let's do some other stories now before we go. Now, for years, students at Queensim MA Primary and Junior High School in Oti region face a heartbreaking reality: no toilets, no clean water, and for many girls, no choice but to miss school for days each month. But today, a simple yet powerful intervention by Plan International Ghana has transformed their lives. From just 79 students enrollment, it has surged to 224, all chance to save sanitation, clean water, and the hope of a better future. Ivy Setoji has more in this report.
For students at Questim MM Primary and GHS in the Jasika municipality of the Oti region, getting an education used to be a struggle. With no toilet facilities, children were forced to relieve themselves in the bush, exposing them to infections, snake bites, and embarrassment.
We were suffering many challenges. First, we don't have a place that we urinate. We go to the bush to urinate, or sometimes go to someone's washroom to urinate. And first, we don't have any place that we defecate. So we go to the bush or we go home to defecate. When we have our menstruation, we need to go far away. Some of us, our house are not near to the school, so we need to go far away to change our pads.
Under its integrated package for Sustainable Development Project, Plan International Ghana builds a gender-friendly latrine with a dedicated changing room for girls and provided a borehole to supply clean water to the school and community.
But when Plan Ghana came to our aid, they built us a nice girl-friendly latrine that when we are feeling to ease, we go there to ease. Give us a changing room that when you have your menstruation, you can go there to change and arrange yourself and go back to class to study.
Beyond water and sanitation, Plan International Ghana provided learning materials to enhance education. The school, who presented its first BECE candidate in 2023, recorded a 70% pass rate, a number that jumped to 90% in 2024.
When I came to this school, I came and met student population of 79. But then we didn't have the facility that will allow the children to ease themselves. They have a lot of threats of snake and other harmful reptiles because they go to bush to defecate and even urinate. So we were there when we heard of the Plan International Ghana coming to partnership with the Queensing community and the school. Not quite long, they came out with a girls-friendly latrine. Prior to the arrival of the Plan International Ghana, in fact, these girls, they don't like coming to school, especially the teenage girls who always have their menses. They were not regular, they were not punctual too. And it affected the learning outcome of the school. So when the Plan International Ghana came with their ease and then gave us the facility, it made a lot of girls to come for enrollment and come to school regularly, even if they are in their menstrual period. The Plan International also provided some of the sanitary pads, and since then, the enrollment from 79, that was in 2021-2022 academic year, has shot up astronomically to 224. But as we came, and then this facility also came in, the JSS was revamped, and then we wrote our first BEC because they were regular, teaching and learning was going on well. So the first BEC that we had in 2023, we registered 10 candidates and we had 70%. Last year that we registered 8 of them, we had 90%. We registered 8. Yeah, so our best grade here was 16.
Ivy Satoji, Joy News, Question.
A neurosurgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and General Secretary of the Islamic Medical Association of Ghana, Dr. Hadi Mohammed Abdallah, is blaming the underutilization of internally generated funds by public health facilities on procurement breaches by government and the Ministry of Health. Dr. Abdallah says hospital administrators are often sidelined in procurement decisions and are not allowed to independently purchase essential medical equipment, even when funds are readily available. He made these remarks on the Super Morning Show.
If we allow the CEOs the free hand to work, they can use the IGF generated to get some of these devices and equipment. But if we insist that they must go through the procurement law and the procurement must be made by our sweetheart, cook it for them, it is wrong. How can you say, for example, that a lift that costs about $65,000, a ministry would impose that on a hospital to buy it at $400,000? Why should this happen? These are the real issues when it comes to funding of hospitals in this country. There are machines that we buy that we could have bought maybe 3 or 4 of those machines. Just last year, Bishop Takia Boy, who I operated on some time ago, I mean, it's no longer an issue of confidentiality because he came out to even speak that I operated on him. I remember when he asked me, what do you want me to do? He wanted to buy me a phone. I said, oh, please. I mean, there are many things we need, so if you could help us. Eventually, he bought me the phone, but he said he would still get me what I wanted. I wanted patient monitors. So I started talking to a few people. And then one guy who has become like a mafia within our procurement industry came to me, oh, you know, these machines, if you tell Bishop to buy it from me, I can put $2,000 each on it for you.
Hey,
yes.
I offer you money.
No, today I'm being frank because we are talking about healthcare. The guy came to see me. This is the first time I'm openly talking about it. And I know this guy has won several contracts. That is why I'm speaking so forcefully today, this morning. Because a lot of contract in this country goes through that guy. He was ready to offer me $2,000.
Inflated price.
Yes, on each of the monitors. Something that a philanthropist was trying to get for us. And I told him, you are so wicked. It was over a dinner. And I left. I would really be happy if Joy FM, for example, can actually do a study on the cost of equipment that has been procured for our public hospitals over the years and compare it. I think it is a study that must be done. Where you have, for example, a CT scan machine, MRI machines, that will cost about $500,000 or $1 million. Government buying it for about $3 million.
Abdallah also weighed in on the recent development of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. He insists the health minister must publicly apologize to the dismissed CEO of the facility and his colleagues, describing the handling of their removal as unfair and damaging.
But before even this CEO who was sacked, there was also one called Dr. Kobila. It was party foot soldiers who moved him out of his office in the same Tamale. A senior colleague of mine took over from him in Tamale. He is an indigene of that area. He couldn't survive. And this is a fine surgeon. After 1 or 2 years, he decided to resign. And that is how this CEO came there. So it is a problem that has lingered for more than a decade. And I think that we have to handle the issues not just purely on medical or administrative background of it, but we also have to look at the social aspect of it. How people are able to walk into a hospital to virtually, let me use the literal, remove a CEO from office. So that culture is there, which is a very bad culture. And when you have a minister of health who walks in well-intended visit and then decide questioning a CEO in the full glare of the public and questioning a neurologist, so far as I am concerned, or my memory set me right, this is the first neurologist to go to the north. We neurosurgeons are about 30 now, which is very low. In total, but neurologists are about 17 in the whole country.
Huh?
So it is, they don't even know
the value
of the person they have up north there.
Latest on this, we are learning that the Tamale Teaching Hospital doctors, they have called off the suspension of emergency care, meaning that they are back to work fully. That is the information we are picking. I'll bring you more in subsequent with the news is that the Tamale Teaching Hospital nurses, they suspended emergency care and outpatient department. Now they say that they are back to work fully, meaning that whatever differences they had with the health minister is resolved, at least for now. That is the information we are getting through, and we'll have more in subsequent bulletins. Now, the Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, has tasked the National Teaching Council with developing a professional alternative to the current teacher licensure examination. This move aligns with the government commitment to scrap the widely criticized assessment. President John Mahama, during his 2024 election campaign, pledged to abolish the licensure exam if elected. He argues that the entire concept behind the exam lacked proper planning and raised several concerns about its fairness and effectiveness. The Special Committee is now expected to propose a new framework for assessing teachers' qualification, but that focuses on academic training and practical framework rather than purely examination-based.
Teachers are key to any successful learning outcomes. And for us and for those of you in education, even more importantly, is your role at the foundational level and at all levels of the upbringing of learners. Yes, it's true, the NDC campaigned on a manifesto promise we will end licensure exams. We did. And we'll keep faith with the electorate. But I need professional advice on this matter. That is why I'm putting this committee together to advise most appropriately how to walk through the transition. The transition from a licensure exam regime to a no licensure exams. What would be the appropriate alternative. In our manifesto again, it was our pledge to incorporate it into the curricula of teacher training institutions, academic, that it becomes part of their curricula. Does that resolve the matter in a manner which defines you as professionals? I want the committee to advise me again on this matter. But with further advice, I want to say that one last opportunity of a receipt of the licensure exams for those who couldn't make it the last time must also be part of your recommendations. What do we do? Do we offer them an opportunity of a receipt? I don't want to prejudice your work, but I think that may be a problematic necessity.
Well, in a related development, the Education Minister has also expressed concern over the quality of graduates entering the workforce. Speaking at the inauguration of the new Ghana Tertiary Education Commission Board, Haruna Idrisu highlighted growing complaints from private sector players. He urged GTEC to take a more proactive role in strengthening quality assurance across tertiary institutions.
To focus primarily on the regulatory mandate of the Commission. In particular, as you are aware, higher education remains the exit point for many young people getting exposure into the world of work. There are complaints from the Ghanaian private sector about the quality of the Ghanaian graduate. There are. If you do an assessment and evaluation of interviews conducted both within the public and private sector of Ghana, you will come to find out some questions about what is the quality of this graduate. That is not to say that our universities are not producing the best quality. They are. But I'm sure there are instances that some don't live up to their calling and expectation. And we need you to also, the President has also asked me to remind this commission that in Ghana, there is a disconnect between what the universities are producing and what is required by industry and commerce, and more importantly, what is required as the future human resource needs of the country. How do we align and realign training to reflect this national need? Too much concentration on generic general academic training, and then also many of the universities are holding very close. My advisor is here. They are very, very close to their mission and vision. And some of them even undertaking courses that originally was not even their own intention and desire to do. There may be something attracting them to do that. But is it right? It is for this regulatory commission to find answers to those questions.
All right, so that's the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu. Let me take you to Tamale for a short while. Martina Bugi joins me on the line. So, Martina, is the suspension off the table now?
What I gather is that a meeting was held this afternoon, and they've come to a conclusion that they would attend to only emergency cases that would come in, but the OPD and others are still on hold. And so for now, the only thing they will be attending to would be only emergency issues that will come to the hospital.
Okay, and it's unclear when they will call everything off. They still insist on the apology?
That is still to be decided, according to my source. It says that they are yet to reach an agreement on that one, but for now, it's only emergency cases to be addressing.
All right, thank you so much. Martin Abugri is our Northern Regional Correspondent, and the news this afternoon is that the Tamale Teaching Hospital doctors, they have now resolved to attend to emergency situation, but they will not attend to OPD, that's outpatient department, cases. So the suspension of emergency cases now off the table whilst they await a formal resolution of their impasse with the health minister. Well, that's our show for today. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. we'll have a special program ahead of the final funeral rites of Pope Francis in Rome, Vatican, Rome. We'll have a special program between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. And of course, on News File tomorrow, the Chief Justice matter is on the table, and of course, illegal mining. Whatever you are up to this weekend, I hope it's profitable. Have a good evening and take care. My name is Elton Brobe.